But once again, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here today. Before we get started with our program, I just want to talk a little bit about the RCDI and just give you just a kind of an update, I guess, on RCDI and where we're at. The RCDI grant was really created to bring educational workshops to our communities and our rural communities. And we created this workshop based on the needs from our rural communities. We talked to a lot of our city managers at the time and said we need workshops and education in our communities, and we want these topics to come to our rural communities. Many times we have to drive to the city of Fresno or we have to drive to other counties to obtain this information. So what we did is we saw an opportunity, and there was a grant through the USDA that was especially to provide education to our city. So we went ahead and applied for it, and we obtained the grant. This grant is to not only to bring workshops to our communities, but also create marketing materials to assist our rural communities to market themselves better, and then also to assist them with their technology use. And that's one of the reasons why we're using technology with these different workshops, to show you that we don't necessarily have to leave our communities to meet with other entities. We can actually, by using the technology that we have today, we can be efficient and be green by using, systems like WebEx and Polycom. This workshop will actually be recorded. So for those of you that were not able to attend our previous workshop, we actually sent out a link for the recording of it, but we've also provided CDs to our cities that have the information, the recording of the video. We like to send out a survey after these workshops, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear what other workshops and what other speakers you want to have. One of the ideas behind the workshop is to really make it yours, and we want to hear from our cities and make sure that we are bringing you information that you want. Our next workshop will be on the business attraction and also incentives. I know that with the state of California, our enterprise zone is changing, and hoping that by next month we'll know exactly what's going on. We are hoping. If so, we'll bring somebody from the Governor's Office of Economic Development to provide an update on this. And then also our utility rate with PG&E. We need to talk about how can we use this rate, what businesses will it'll apply to. So we will continue to bring this information to you, but we want to hear from you. And it's just a quick comment. This was a wonderful idea from Cruz. She said, you know what, Esther, one of the things that I would like to have, and I think would be beneficial for the rest of the cities, is to really, from all these workshops, is create maybe a economic development. She calls it a cookbook. It's kind of like a small strategy. The idea is that we bring all these different workshops to you. At the end of the 8th workshop, is we sit down and we talk about what are the different strategies that you can use for your city. Now, considering that every city is unique and every city is different, we want to at least create just a small strategic economic development strategy, or at least the start of a template. So we will be inviting Wayne Shell back at the 8th workshop to talk about all of these different topics that we've touched and just kind of do a wrap-up. So with that, I will start with our first presenter. Again, I want to thank Stantec for sponsoring our dinner. We're having pupusas over here, so they look amazing, and I will be having some shortly. To start off with, I would like to introduce Mark Cordes. He's the Government Practice Center Team Lead, and today's going to be really important. Stantec will be talking about opportunities on brownfields and different grants that are available, and we thought that it was critical to bring them to the table and talk about what additional assistance can be provided to our rural communities. And then, of course, Elias is also here today to present here in the city of Mendota. And then we have Joellen that is here as well with Stantec. So we look forward to hearing from all of them. And with that, I will give it over to you, Mark, and then, Elias will be presenting that.
Thank you, and we appreciate this opportunity, and we were more than happy to invite dinner. I wish I would have known we were doing that because I went to Basin before I came here. It smells great. My name is Mark Cordes. I'm actually from Wisconsin, and I appreciate the opportunity to come out here to California. As I said, my name is Mark Cordes. Stantec is just a little bit of background, very quick background, because I don't want to bore you. We have about 200 offices throughout North America, 13,000 employees. I think roughly 20 offices or so in California and about 1,000 employees. And we have office in Fresno. With that, I will pass it off to Elias. Talk a little bit about what brownfields mean to the communities we work with, how we've transformed these underutilized sites into functioning and sometimes very prosperous sites in the core of downtown areas, from small communities to larger communities. And after Elias will talk just a few minutes about what brownfields mean to us and to the communities we work for, I will talk a little bit about an EPA grant program in which we've discussed with Fresno County, and there's some interest in them applying for EPA grant funding that would help all the communities within Fresno County to potentially assess sites of interest within their communities, and these grants are 100% funded. With that, Elias, go ahead.
Very good.
Right.
Hello, everyone. First, thank you for having us. It really is a pleasure to be here. It just feels right to be here. It feels right because it feels that we are part of community. And so being here is different than being in a large corporate setting. Driving here felt right. Being here feels right because it feels that we are part and parcel of something that is at the very heart of what it means to do development, which is at the very core of what it means to actually administer cities and try to expand and serve for our people. Brownfields is at the very core of doing what is right. Typically, when we think of brownfields, we think of remediation projects, we think of contamination, we think of derelict sites everywhere, we think of bad things, we think of toxics, we think of impacts on the environment, and we think of impacts on human health. What if we turn the pipe around? What if we really think of brownfields as they are? They are the legacy of who we are. Think about it. What are brownfields? They are the sites that we've created over the years. They are our legacy, our making. It is what we have done. So brownfields for Stantec and for many of us throughout the nation is not some derelict site somewhere. It is our legacy. It is what we've created. They are dreams deferred. They are dreams awaiting to be realized. What are they? They are those facilities that were shuttered 10 years ago, 15 years ago, as folks lost their homes. Right here in Central Valley, they also lost their commercial and their industrial base and their agricultural base. They lost it and it went somewhere else. And suddenly we have these sites out there that are sitting to be realized. And we look at them as brownfields. They are assets as opposed to liabilities, but only if they understood that way. They are not something that we should be looking at as to leave alone and avoid and leave derelict for years. They are an asset that we are to realize and rebuild. But how do we do that? Through our communities. That's why it felt right. I'll tell you, I've been in many, many places. It never felt more right than being here. You can probably tell from how enthusiastic I am about it. It really feels right. It feels like driving here because it's all about celebrating community. It's all about bringing communities to what we really want to do. Well, then you go to what is the official, the agency definition of what a brownfield is. Yes, the EPA defines it in terms of impact from property. Yes, there are key points of what they are as industrial sites with significant percentages and so on and so forth. But really, is that only what it is? Is it a number of contamination? Is it contaminants of concern? Is it lead? Is it asbestos? Is it PCBs? Is that how we see them? And if we do see them the right way, do we then see them as sites awaiting some money out there to bring them forward from a contaminated site to a development site, or we look at them comprehensively as a project of development that happens to be impacted? If we are to celebrate our brownfields, if we are to celebrate these great properties that we have, then are we not then dealing with what it means to have direct costs, the tax base, the different blights that creates the contamination? Isn't that what it is that we're dealing with? But in reality, Am I able to move? In reality, I want to really emphasize what's on the board. In reality, as Mark will talk about, in reality, the EPA grants that we are about to talk about, and every single grant that there is, the role of our mayors, the role of our council, the role of our community, the role of our assistant managers here and managers everywhere, the role of every city council member. It is about one thing. It's about one thing. It's capturing the dreams of our children and the legacy of where we're going. Brownfield is that one project that takes something from what it is considered as a derelict property affecting human health and environment, and then presenting it forward as a joy to celebrate in the future. And the federal government recognized that. So the EPA came in and said, you know what? We know what it means to revitalize cities. We know what it means to revitalize towns. And we know what it means today in these hard-hit times in the heart of the United States everywhere. And so we are coming forward with these projects, with these grants, with these opportunities to do assessment and to do planning. And we want to present that to you. We, the federal government, and us in Stantec, present that to you as an opportunity for us to capture those dreams and capture that effort that we want to proceed with going forward. And with that, I want to turn it to Mark, who's going to talk about the actual grant and what we can have as opportunities out here throughout the valley. But I want to close with this. 30 years ago, I used to come here. I used to come here as a student. I drove from 60.1 miles along the San Joaquin River, from Lander Avenue to Bernal. I would get out, I would sample the water of the San Joaquin River, and I would move on to the next station, then to the next station, then to the next station. And later on, I would model mud flues, I would model areas around it, grasslands, and so on and so forth. What did it do to me? It shaped who I am. I actually, personally, my start professionally is you. You gave me everything that I had because I started on these streets. I started with what you're seeing here. That I am your making. I am your legacy. And with that, I would love to help in any which way I can to pay back to this community who made me what I am. And I thank you for that. Thank you for having us. Mark, it's yours.
Thank you. Involvement. 80% of the brownfield sites, and when we say the word brownfield, a lot of times the vision comes to mind of very large industrial sites in Detroit and things like that. But a brownfield site can be any underutilized site. It can be an egg co-op. It can be that corner gas station that's been abandoned in your communities, things like that. It's properties that are just blighted in your communities that really perhaps need a little bit of money to try to either evaluate what needs to be done on the site or if anything does need to be done on the site. It's interesting, within this program, about one-third of the sites we evaluate where there's a perception of contamination, there's no additional work that needs to be done on the site. So that's something to keep in mind. As far as entities, any local government entities or quasi-governmental agencies are eligible to apply for funding. The EDC, who invited us to this, would not be an eligible entity to apply for funding, but they could manage the grant. Fresno County is interested in potentially applying for funding, but it's my understanding they don't have interest in perhaps administrating the grant. So, and it's also my understanding the EDC would have some interest in that, and those fees could be paid out of the grant, which again is 100% funded. There's basically 4 types of redevelopment grants available through EPA, and we've worked through all of these. The grant we will be talking about today is EPA community-wide assessment grants, and we apply for 2 $200 grants for a total of $400,000. There's no match requirements, and there's a 3-year time period for spending those funds. The other thing I will mention, I know the state of California has eliminated redevelopment authorities as well as any funding that's available to clean up any sites. The EPA does have cleanup funding available for sites. A couple of caveats. The municipality has to own the site, and there's a 20% match, but you can apply for up to $600,000 worth of funding through EPA for site cleanup. And we have used that program very successfully throughout the nation. Assessment grant funded activities, performance of environmental due diligence, basically anything up to the actual cleanup of the site can be funded under this grant. So phase 1s, phase 2s, site cleanup plan, and cost estimates for cleanup. My background is I've spent 11 years in the public sector working in government for cities and counties in the Midwest, 5 years for a private development company, and 5 years, a little over 5 years in the consulting field. And I can say from experience, the quickest way to kill any real estate deal is uncertainties. So with these properties that are just not being used, where again there's perception of potential contamination there, if those items can be addressed and quantified, that allows the negotiation at least to take place if a developer is interested in that property. So if the cleanup is going to cost $100,000, $500,000, a developer can take those costs into consideration when looking at a redevelopment plan on the site. These grants also fund planning and market research. If you have, let's say, a small corridor or maybe a large site within your community, we can look at funding a portion of that for some market research studies to see what type of businesses are needed in your community, what the workforce talents are, and what potential uses the site could be redeveloped for. Additional funds activities, again, remedial action plans. We can also use it for community outreach activities and collection of environmental data. On the county basis, we have, for various counties within their GIS system, created a database of all the public records that are available to look at potential contamination on sites or environmental issues on sites. And that's used for not only redevelopment, but sometimes public works projects as well. Again, the grants are 100% funded. The funding is very unique in that it can be used on public or private sites. The sites don't have to be in public ownership. They can be private sites. Obviously, there has to be permission of the property owner. This is not an environmental enforcement type of grant. I know people hear the word EPA and they think enforcement. It's strictly voluntary. From what we've seen, if a private individual owns a site that there's potential environmental concerns on and they want to sell it, they know that there's, especially after the financial defaults with the banks and things like that, there will be no commercial loans on any type of property like that unless there's at least a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments on those properties, which can be funded through this grant. Why us? We've prepared a lot of these grants. We have a high success rate, about 70% success rate on these grants. Nationwide, there's it's about a 20% success rate, so we're substantially higher than most of the grant applicants throughout the United States. We look at these projects not only from an environmental perspective, but a redevelopment perspective, and that we just found out actually this week we won the Economic Impact Project of the Year for the second year in a row nationally, and those were for communities, one of less than 40,000, the other for less than 25,000 population. So we've worked with very small communities and had very successful projects. And the projects we beat nationally were projects in Chicago, New York, San Diego. These are very large projects, and we're working with very small communities. We've worked with large communities, we've worked with small communities. There's nothing more satisfying than going into a small community and redeveloping a key, one of these projects. It was a large paper mill site in the heart of the downtown, which we redeveloped as a professional office space for Plexus's actually world headquarters, employing 450 people. It's just a fantastic project, and it's really nice to go into these communities where really truly change the look and feel of the downtown as well as the economic impact of the community. What do we need from you? Encourage the county to apply for this funding. It's an annual funding cycle. Please just offer your support to the county, so you support this program. If you'd like to see the county apply, it's going to benefit every single community within Fresno County. There's no out-of-pocket expense to the county to apply for this funding. And I know the county is shorthanded staffing, but again, I think we can address that with EDC administering the grant. And if you have any possible sites in your community, pass those along as well. But certainly express your interest to the county that you support this program, would support them applying for this grant. That's it. I went as quickly as I could. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I will hang around afterwards, but if there's questions now, I will take those questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes. So what is the first step? County involvement? Is that the first step of Congress to involve?
Mark, Mayor Mendota is asking what is the first step to get these dollars. Is the county involvement for the first grant that we were talking about?
Yes, it is for the assessment grant. The county would act as the applicants, the umbrella applicants. The beneficiaries of that grant would be all the communities within Fresno County.
So for the first step for the assessment grant would be the county involvement that would cover all the cities here in the county, all over the state, correct?
That is correct.
And then there is other grants for our individual cities if they wanted to participate as well, correct?
There are other grants. The ones that would probably be most applicable, there's revolving loan funds and planning grants, but most of the communities I think that are at this meeting are probably on the small side to apply for those type of grants. But the cleanup grants, we've gotten cleanup grants for very small communities, 4,000 or 5,000 people. Really the key is the community has to own the property and they have to have a 20% cost match in the cleanup costs. But it's very realistic, and I can't think of our cleanup grant success rate, from what I believe, is 100%. I can't think of any cleanup grants we've ever applied for a community that haven't gotten funded through the ETA. Sometimes we've had to reapply a second cycle, but all of those grants that I'm aware of, and again, I'm thinking the last 5 years, I can't think of any of those grants we've applied for that we haven't got funding for a community. So, but that's basically the second step. First step is to look at the site, evaluate the site, see what needs to be done, see what those costs are associated with it. If the municipality does want to take that second step and actually clean up that site so it's ready for redevelopment, we can help them apply for the EPA funding to take that second step.
Mark, so if I am in one of the cities in Central Valley within Fresno County, what would be my top lead step, actual practical step, to be able to get those federal grants for this potential advantage for my community? Not from a perspective of a project, but from a perspective of an agency. What would an agency, first step for the agency, second step, third step?
The first step, are you talking about a specific site, or are you just talking about the grants in general?
What would the mayor of our city, right in here in Mendoza, in his mind, in his 1, 2, 3, what do I need to do? What's on my checklist?
Number one, reach out to the county. I think the county administrator, John Navarrete, sorry, was who we've met with. I would contact his office and say we fully support the county applying for this funding. That would be step number one. And one of the reasons we encourage the county to apply for this funding is so many of these communities outside of Fresno are very small communities, and on their own, it would be very difficult for them to get funding. If the county would apply, the chances of success are very high. The demographic, socioeconomic factors are all there. We could write I'm very confident we could write a successful grant application for the assessment funding. And but the county needs to take that step to say, yes, we're going to do that. They haven't made that commitment yet. We've talked to them. They're very interested, but I think they need to hear from the local communities that we support this program, and we're very interested in you applying for this funding.
I'm David.
Mayor asked us if the economic condition of a given community has a direct impact or has a relationship to the way the grants are being evaluated by the federal government.
Absolutely. They look at poverty levels, unemployment, demographics, minority populations, and prior to even contacting Fresno County, we looked at all those factors, and without a doubt, they would make a great applicant for these grants. If we didn't think they would make a good applicant, we wouldn't have approached the county to write the grants, and we've agreed to the county, provided them a proposal to write that grant at no cost, no out-of-pocket cost to the county. And again, we wouldn't make an offer like that unless we felt there was an extremely high likelihood of the funding being approved by the EPA. And I think we've done 85 of these grants in the last 4 or 5 years, so we've done enough of these grants that all the pieces are in place.
Okay. The question has been answered here. There is no local match.
There is no local, there's no match on the assessment grants. Only if the communities would decide to move forward on cleaning up the site and go for a cleanup grant is there a match. The assessment grants are 100% funded. There's no out-of-pocket match requirement for the city or the county.
The other question is, you mentioned earlier a GIS list. Do you know approximately how many cities in Fresno County have Brownfield as a qualifier? I don't think we have any in our community.
Well, I think a lot of times the perception of brownfield is again a large industrial site. We've used this funding for underutilized or abandoned strip malls that were built in the 60s and 70s. We've used it for the corner gas station site that's abandoned. We've used it on a co-op site in a very, very small egg community that had there was some herbicide storage there as well as some underground storage tanks. It's really, I think, when I think of it, driving around the Fresno area, I see, tired old corridors. I see buildings that are just abandoned that probably had multiple uses over many years. Then we have building material issues. This funding can be used for evaluate asbestos within buildings, lead-based paint, things like that, which aren't just commercial. Sometimes we're dealing with residential or rental type of properties as well. Again, I think the perception of I think when people hear the word brownfield, they have a certain perception in their mind, which I look at it as just underutilized commercial properties or industrial properties. And when you, I guess, maybe think of it from that perception, more sites may come to mind. And driving through the greater Fresno area, I've seen plenty of sites out there that I think would qualify for funding.
So again, my name is Devin Jones. I'm the Director of Business and Community Development at the EDC. We'll be talking about business expansion retention, kind of by the way of EDC, what we do in that realm. You'll notice some names on the PowerPoint. Hopefully you can see that all on your end in Mendota. Veronica Salas, who's here with me now, is Economic Development Analyst. I also have Jared Olson, who's our Vista leader. And then Esther Cuevas, with corporate locations, Esther deals with a lot of expansions in the kind of site location, site selection realm. And a business expansion could be someone expanding from Texas and into the California market. So she deals with a lot of expansions as well. William McComas, Director of Business Services, he's our lead for the high-speed rail efforts, working with the businesses along the alignment. That is the biggest business retention project we will see, in my opinion. And so his team is working with all those businesses along the alignment right now. And then Victor Bribieska is our manager currently of the Enterprise Zone and will kind of help us with the tax incentives that the state will put in place going forward after the new year. Again, the Enterprise Zone and these types of tax credits, one of the biggest tools we have for expansion opportunities. So kind of wanted to paint the picture of various kind of heads that are thinking about business expansion retention at the EDC. So obviously, losing businesses is a bad thing. Local jobs are lost, reduces our local tax base, surrounding property values suffer, and contributes to blighter declines. It lowers community image and leads to additional closings. So what can we do to stop that? Keep businesses from relocating to other areas, for instance, the high-speed rail project. A lot of businesses are being approached for the possibility of getting a check and moving. Some of the individuals that are working on this, don't really care if a business ups and leaves and goes to Texas or Tulare County or something, but we're involved to make sure that we keep that tax base and those jobs in Fresno County. Helps businesses survive economic difficulties. This has been very relevant as of late. We want to make sure that businesses know about things such as the new employment opportunity wage reimbursement that DSS will tell you more about in a little bit, or energy efficiency loans and things of that nature that help them kind of improve their bottom line by reducing their costs. We want to assist businesses with expansions that add new jobs and assist companies become more competitive. We've got Rich Monster, who's with Valley Small Business, who's also going to talk, and he makes sure that a business is as loan ready as they can be to be most successful to get that loan. Again, you guys might recognize, some of you might recognize this slide from Wayne Shell's first presentation. I'll be referencing a lot of information that Wayne was identifying. But again, economic developers are catalysts. They're strategists who establish relationships, build networks, and generate resources to meet the needs of businesses. We are not job creators ourselves. We just facilitate, we connect. We help the business to be most successful in that endeavor to create. So the mission of the Bear Action Network, or the Business Expansion and Retention Action Network, is to enhance the stability and growth of existing businesses, which result in job creation and capital investment. It's all about jobs, tax base, things that will support a good quality of life in our community. What we use this system, what it is to do is to create a support system for all of Fresno County businesses. This kind of support system is very attractive in the attraction process. A business that is being located in California, if they can see that there's a support network in place for a business after their kind of wines and dines, so to speak, to come into a community, and that they've got that ongoing support, they're more likely to want to pick that community. And again, as I'm going to reiterate by the partners that I've invited to speak, our strength of the EDC and our kind of expansion retention efforts is through our partnerships. We know the various entities out there that are trying to assist our businesses, and we want to help them to help the business community. So the primary objective of the Bear Action Network is to identify any needs of our business clients and make essential connections. Obviously, you'll hear from 3 other of our partners. They'll represent programs and services, but whether it's someone that we already have in our network or someone we already have a relationship with, if a business identifies an incentive we're not aware of, we do that groundwork to try to identify that information for them. And the network acts as a hub for information and service distribution to our local businesses. Again, we serve all of the cities and all the cities within it. So best way to put it, simplest way I think to put what we do, at least in the Bear Action Network department at the EDC, is we're like a concierge for businesses. Again, we meet with businesses, we try to assess what their maybe their barriers for growth are, what their opportunities may be, that maybe they haven't understood that there's people out there that can help them with those types of opportunities, and then we connect those dots. Enterprise zone tax credit programs, we know that business owners are very busy running their business, and so they don't have time necessarily to kind of research all the tricks and trades and all the things that are out there for them, so we do that and we identify those things. Sometimes we help to create incentives. Fresno County Department of Social Services, you'll hear from them in a little bit. They have labor subsidies that are very valuable to employers, small and large. So again, they'll talk about that in a little bit. And Fresno Energy Watch, again, there's a whole effort behind getting businesses to reduce their costs through their energy consumption. So if we can get them to become more energy efficient, that reduces their energy bills, obviously. Again, the theme of last year was really increasing profits by decreasing.
There it is. I was going to ask you about the PowerPoint, but there it is. Okay, go ahead.
They're actually network partners. Again, there's a lot of services that are represented in our network. We've tried to, recently we had an exercise with Fresno Housing Authority. There's a rental assistance demonstration project that's going to be millions of dollars of general contractor and contracting work to rehab their entire portfolio of properties all across the county. As such, they have something called Section 3 certification, which adds an incentive to contract with a particular subcontractor or even general contractor. And so we've been doing groundwork with Housing Authority and in partnership with CSS to help businesses participate in that process to get those bid opportunities. So, connecting them with small business certifications, government contracting, a number of things. At this time, I would like to have Rich Mostert speak to you all a bit more about something called the Track Center. He'll tell you all about it, but basically Rich is the person I would always send a business to that's looking for a loan. If they're looking for a loan, if they're a smaller business, medium-sized, large even, Rich's task is to assist businesses to be as loan-ready as possible and very good at it. So I'll let Rich talk a bit more. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Great. Devin said it all. I'm done. Thank you very much. I work for a company called Valley Small Business Development Corporation. Many of you have probably worked with us in the past. I know I see a lot of familiar faces around the tables here. Valley's been around for 33 years, and we're what's called a CDFI, our Community Development Financial Institution, just like Anna Medina's group is with Fresno EOC. What we have been doing for the last 33 years is providing direct loans through funds that we borrow and obtain to re-lend out to small businesses. But also we provide guarantees on loans. We work very closely with lending communities and banks and CDFIs throughout the state to help facilitate financing. And one of the things that we do that's very specific to this area is we not only do commercial lending, but we also do ag lending as well. So we're kind of the one-stop shop for small business lending, and we used to be known back in the day, and I hope you're not known like this, Anna. Please change it if you are. We're not the lender of last resort. We're the lender of last opportunity, and we're very proud to say that because we will work with startup businesses. We will work with businesses that maybe have a little bit of hair on the deal, as we like to say from time to time, and we will take into account the recent years we've experienced economically where it's very rare to find somebody with perfect credit. Now, can we do a deal with bad credit? Absolutely not. But if it's explainable credit, we can work with that kind of borrower. And we can get very creative about that. Now, the program I head up, I'm the Director of Technical Resource and Assistance, which is a really fancy way of saying I help small businesses and I wash the dishes at the same time. And so what we've done is we've developed a program called the Track Center. TRACK stands for Technical Resource and Assistance. And this program is fairly unique in the sense that it provides one-on-one counseling, technical assistance, and training to small businesses throughout, initially, Fresno, Madera, and Tulare counties. We'll actually go statewide if we need to help them become, as Devin said so well, loan ready, but also to help them understand that there's a process if you're not ready to obtain financing. How do you fix that? How do you work to overcome barriers that are preventing you from getting the loan for your business startup or expansion? So we will literally sit down and work one-on-one with individuals and business owners and help them understand what lending is really about. We are very non-denominational. We will work with the borrower to find the best possible deal they can get. We can do direct loans. We do a lot of referrals to the CDFI with Anna. She does a fantastic job. We also work, like I say, with banks throughout the Central Valley and the state, as well as other larger CDFIs in the Bay Area and Southern California, to try to offer as many financial products as we can. But we work very closely with some of the unheard of lending programs, and I think that's a value we bring to your small businesses in your community. because there are smaller revolving loan funds and specialty programs out there that you may not be aware of. And the example that comes to mind, thanks to Mark's excellent presentation, is there's a program called RUST, the Removal of Underground Storage Tanks. Not many people are familiar with that program, but that provides loans to businesses who, obviously by the name, have to remove underground storage tanks. And the amazing thing about that is that it provides a lending mechanism for entities that are very hard to fund in a conventional sense because no lender wants to touch property that may or may not be contaminated in any way, shape, or form. But also, it does it in a way that is about as painless as possible. It is a loan process. There has to be credit review. There has to be collateral review, which Valley does. We're the agency designated to underwrite and administer RUST loans. But the beauty is it's not as difficult as a conventional loan, and it's a 10-year note at 0.25%. I'm glad you're all sitting down for that. I need to repeat that. 10-year note at 0.25% interest. I'm working right now. We're going to seal the deal with a small downtown business as we speak. Very happy to provide those kind of services. So the focus of what we do is to be that conduit that didn't exist before, to take the folks that banks, other CDFIs, other service providers, municipalities, take the clients that you get saying, I need help. I need help finding out how I can get financing to help my business, and give them one place to go to that will focus on that issue. That's what we provide. Again, we work very closely with all of the other service providers. We know them all very well. We have a handoff agency and can help them do that. It's very important to know that loan readiness is our focus. However, I'm a very old, not retired yet, I wish, business counselor from a long time ago. And we will help a business in any way, shape, or form. We're very proactive in terms of either helping them directly or referring them to the right agency. So we look at more than just loan readiness when we look at a business. We look at how to help them understand ways to develop new sources of revenue. I think Devin said something very important that you should all take note of when you're talking to your local business community, is that one of the best ways to make money is to save money and take advantage of great programs like the county has with their employment reimbursements and tax credits. I think that's underutilized to a great degree. So we'll also work with local businesses who will say, I don't know why I'm not making money. I have customers. I've always made money when I had customers. What's going on? We'll sit down and help them understand and analyze their financial records to see where the money is going, how it's being utilized, and maybe where the holes are so we can patch those in. So that's a very important part of what we're going to do is help businesses take a look at their internal structure and shore that up if it needs it. And then explore other sources of revenue generation. It's important to think a little bit outside the box. We have a lot of opportunities coming to the Central Valley, and we have a lot of businesses who are not willing to change, and I think we need to work together as a team to help them understand that if they can expand their client base, partner with other agencies, diversify their products, or help establish a better brand, they might be able to grow with the economy as it starts to slowly turn around. So right now, we are covering, like I said, Fresno, Madera, Tulare counties. In all honesty, I'm doing most of my work in Fresno County and little bits and pieces here and there in the other counties. So I'd love to work with any of you throughout this regional network that we're talking to tonight. But I'd also like you to know that we have two locations to date. We have our headquarters on Fruit and Herndon in Fresno, and we are opening up in a week and a half a downtown location at the Downtown Business Hub in Fresno, a satellite office. We are working diligently to try to build resources and get momentum going so that if there is a demand in communities such as the east side of Fresno County or west side of Fresno County, we'd be open to the idea of establishing a satellite center for this kind of service. So I wanted to make you aware of that as well. Our ultimate goal, again, is loan readiness, but another valuable service we provide is to prevent entities to going into business that they probably shouldn't, or they don't have the capacity to do, but also make sure a business understands if an expansion is wise or appropriate at this time. And we will sit down and develop those kind of products to further degrees as we go. Right now we offer workshops on loan readiness and packaging, but also we're putting together a financial boot camp that will be launched this spring that will be like what we call in the education game, drinking from the fire hose, financing 101. So we'll be offering that to businesses throughout our service area to provide them with the entire gamut of how to understand how financials work, how to read your financials, prepare your financials, and how a loan works as well. So if you have any questions, I see that I have my flyer. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoints. I like to talk to people one-on-one. And so my information is on the back of that flyer. You can call me anytime. I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you and see how we can help the clients in your community. We have so much great potential here in Fresno County. I'm excited to see what we can do together. And that's all I have. Thank you, Rich. Oh, keep going. Yeah, keep the time up. Keep the time up. Oh, yes, I got it. So, moving on. Hold on, there we go. So, continuing on, Fresno for Biz Partnership. This is something that we have just joined in partnership with the WIB and a number of other agencies. It's very similar to Bear Action Network Services, pretty much the same. What we offer, though, as well is if you go to FresnoForBiz.com, we've actually kind of automated some of the referral process, some of the connections. There's a self-assessment questionnaire that a business can go through, that if they have particular questions that are applicable to their business as they sit right now, they can check an answer or a question that they have, and then we refer them to the appropriate agencies, such as the partners that we have here today. There's also a link for Tools for Business. It's basically a link that has a variety of information, licensing questions, permitting questions. Per industry, there's particular programs that are linked to that as well. We're partnering with them on their gap analysis survey to make sure that businesses that are surveyed through this process connected to services that they require. And then also we have a calendar of all partner events. This is kind of the need help button is basically where a business would go. It kind of takes them to, as you see there, a number of questions that would help direct. What we do is we operate the back end of all this. We make sure that businesses that participate in the program get connected with the right people. So we use a software called Executive Pulse. I'll actually be doing a training. We're going to come back later on in this workshop series and go into more detail into Executive Pulse, kind of how our referral network works in the electronic standpoint. So, Fresno County Department of Social Services, who will speak next, Ralph and Veronica from DSS. One of the most exciting things that I think is highly underutilized is something called the New Employment Opportunity Program. This is a wage reimbursement. Tax credits are one thing. Enterprise Zone is a dollar-for-dollar tax credit. Again, it's expiring at the end of this calendar year. We're going to be doing it. We have been doing a use it or lose it campaign for the tax credit. But the NEO is literally a wage reimbursement. An employer that hires through this program literally submits an Excel invoice to DSS, and they receive a wage reimbursement. Work experience, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but it's also a great program. I kind of tell employers it's almost like a free probationary period. You can kind of test someone out before you bring them on your payroll. It's really quite a unique service. It used to be only for nonprofit and municipalities, but now it's been opened up to private business. We assist them with their annual DSS job fair. It is the largest job fair in the county. No question, it's huge. I think it's 10,000, 12,000 people every year. Usually 200 employers that we have signed up. So, but without going into too much more detail, I'd like to
really quick, Devin, before you introduce Ralph, really quick. I just want to mention that it's critical that we understand these different incentives that are out there for our businesses, because as we all know, we are no longer, or very soon will no longer have the enterprise zone. So as cities, as economic developers, we need to understand what is out there available so we can provide these tools and resources to our businesses. So, I think that we're very lucky to have a program like the New Employment Opportunity, and as well as several others. So the more we know, the more we learn, the additional assistance that we can provide our local businesses. So I just wanted to make that quick comment, and with that, I'll pass it back over to you.
And Esther's exactly right. And the one thing I want to impress upon everybody is that you're getting bombarded by a lot of information and programs, but the main thing is you could just have the businesses talk to me or the EDC. The main thing is that we act as that concierge again. We'll connect to the appropriate people. Okay? But with that, Ralph?
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Good evening. Devin says I have 7 minutes, so I will zip right through this. I will get into the labor subsidy, but I'd like to explain that we have other services that we offer businesses, and everything we do is at no cost to the employer. We offer a team of job developers that are out in the field pretty much every day. That's yours?
Oh, yeah. So we have 2 different programs. I'm Veronica Brown. This is Ralph.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Didn't I say? Hi, I'm Ralph. Okay. I got the 6.5 minutes, so hang on. Okay. I wanted to explain to you the job developers that I supervise are out in the field every day offering our services, along with the labor subsidy. And in a second, I will tell you that the labor subsidy that was mentioned is about to get substantially bigger. But first, let me go through what the business services that are offered through the Employment Resource Center, which is located over at the fairgrounds in Fresno. Our job developers will offer reduced advertising costs because we do everything for free. And if you've ever bought an ad in the Fresno Bee or TV, it can be pretty expensive. So everything we do is at no cost. So we help market your vacancies. So we do free recruitment. We'll offer you our offices if necessary. We also have other sites. We partner with a number of agencies, EDC being a primary, but we also partner with Reading and Beyond, so we have office space in their offices. We recently completed a major recruitment with a retailer in the Sanger area, and we use the Sanger municipality offices to do group orientation, complete paperwork, and that kind of stuff. So all of that was at zero cost to the employer, and we also help staff. So now, let's get into money. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We can assist with, our clients are all going to be eligible for assistance to the employer for background checks, for, let's say, drug testing, for any other kind of vetting or screening that the employer wants to do. We also, just last week, an employer needed a state certification for the clients that he was interested in hiring. Our agency was able to assist with that, saving the employer several $1,000s. And the 11 clients that he hired are now all state certified in asbestos removal. So that's a good thing, and they're all working. So that's a great thing. Now, let me get into the NEO program, also known as AB 98, also known as subsidized employment. Currently, for every hire that comes through the Welfare to Work program, which is the program we work in, we offer $800 a month over a 6-month period for full-time hires, $4,800, okay, for every hire. We have a number of employers that have been with us for several years. One of them has communicated to us that he saved enough in labor costs that he's actually opened 2 additional outlets. It's a restaurant chain in the valley.
Is that info in your packet?
Not that specific. Oh, okay. But the subsidy is substantial. The state has recently authorized fully subsidized positions. I have a meeting on Monday to figure out how we're going to do this. Some of you may remember the 80-20 program, 100% wage reimbursement. It's not quite as big because these are state funds, but the program will be rolled out in Fresno County very shortly. And then we're offering 100% or fully subsidized positions. So this employer that just hired the 11 folks to do asbestos removal
You could say that you pretty much hit the jackpot here, because we're probably going to convert those 11 placements to fully subsidized as soon as we get the details worked out in the program. Sitting next to me is Veronica Brown. She's going to tell you about the work experience program. But that's it for my brief presentation, unless there's questions.
Well, you passed out a packet, right?
I
So
did
the
pass
folder is from Ralph, the blue folder.
The administrative packet in front of everybody are the requirements for participation in the NEO program. It's a thick packet. Don't be scared. It's not that difficult, and our job developers will come out and assist you and walk you through getting it signed off and fully completed and submitted. There is a QC process that has to be completed before we can actually do placement, but normally we can get that done in a couple of days, as long as the employer has all the verification. So, any questions?
Sure.
All right,
Okay.
Veronica, you're up. Here, let's switch.
Okay. I'm Veronica Brown, and this is my PowerPoint up here, so it just has a few slides to kind of explain how our program works, and there's also a handout. I don't know if you have it over there. How do I... Okay. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how the work experience program works, and then also what we expect from the sites and what services that we can also assist with the sites. Where is it? Okay, wait. Okay. So work experience is a CalWorks program that places recipients into work sites. CalWorks is our cash aid program, so anyone receiving cash assistance, they have to be part of what we call our Welfare to Work program. Part of that Welfare to Work program, one of the activities that they can participate in to meet requirements that they have to meet for us is the work experience program. A lot of times we like to put people into work experience that have some vocational training, some type of schooling under their belts. So these work experience site placements would actually get them hands-on experience. And we want them to develop new skills, enhance their existing abilities, and also meet their welfare work obligations. They're non-salaried assignments, so they're unpaid assignments. For for-profit, this is new to us. We just started working with for-profit or private businesses. Previously, we were only open to do work experience with nonprofit agencies. For-profit businesses, we will usually assign a client to a site for 1 to 3 months, and nonprofits, we can do up to 6 months. And the shorter time frame for the for-profits is we're hoping to turn that work experience site into a NEO placement. So we do use it as like a probationary period where a business can see how the client works, if they'd be a good fit there, and then they can hire them, and also just create a pool of qualified candidates that if they're not hiring currently, they can go to later in time if they need to. Our participants are required to meet certain hours for our program, so they can either do 20, 30, or 35 hours per week, and that's just dependent on their household makeup. If there's a single parent who has children under 6, they are required to do 20 hours a week. Single parents with children over 6 do 30, and if we have 2 parents in a household, they're required to do 35 hours a week. And we do work with businesses. If they want somebody closer to 40 hours a week, we always encourage our participants to do more hours, because in most jobs you are going to be working a 40-hour week. So what we try to do is we will match our participants' skills and abilities, and also what they're interested in, with a site. So, if somebody's coming out of medical assisting school, we try and put them in a medical field or a medical office. If somebody's finished office assistant training, we'll look for a site for them to, gain some more administrative skills. We also cover reasonable site-related expenses. And one of the good things about work experience is we cover workers' comp while they're placed in that site. So there's no cost to the business, there's no cost to the organization. If anything happens, they're covered through our CalWorks workers' comp. And like I said, the cities are considered nonprofits, so we can do up to 6 months placement in the city. there's a requirement in any type of additional education, that you provide that? Like if you want them to go to, like,
if an employer needed additional education and they were interested in them, would you guys provide additional educational training for them?
Every situation is unique. We would take a look at it. There are some costs that we can help with, like the asbestos training. Okay, we pay for that. Is that possible?
Can you guys repeat that question for Mendota, please? I'm sorry.
My question was if they were given any type of additional education that was required from the employee that hired these people. If they were required to go to additional training, additional schooling, would they be able to be provided that service? And he said,
did you hear that?
Every situation is unique. There are situations where we could help, depending on the education needed. For instance, I cited the NEO employer that needed his staff certified in asbestos removal, and we were able to assist with that cost. The training was done, and they're all working now. So every situation is unique, and we would take a look at it, and if it was possible, of course we'd help.
So yeah, we try to be flexible with that, and we look at every situation differently. I know for some of the work experience placements, I think one of the sites did request I think maybe an accounting class, like in an adult school, and we were able to pay for the cost of that. So we can do stuff like that. It just depends on what it is and if it's going to lead to maybe a subsidized job after that, or what the plan is for that client. Some of the worksite roles is providing.
I'm sorry. Well, there's a question over here. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
What are the obligations of work?
What the question here is, what are the obligations for the welfare to work candidate, and what do they have to meet?
Well, the obligations are, we have the minimum required hours per week for that participant. So if we have a single parent with a child under 6, we require them to do 20 hours per week. So if a site agrees to take someone for 20 hours per week, then we would pretty much, it's like they're your employee, and you treat them like any other employee you have. They'll get a schedule. They should adhere to that schedule. If they're not, then you would contact. I have job specialists that I've supervised that would be a contact person for you, and if there's issues that are coming up where the client or the participant's not showing up, or there's problems, we can mediate that situation, get involved, and see what's going on their side. If something's happening that they're not sharing with employers, and we try and work it out so they can successfully complete it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I think the question is a little bit more, what is the quality of the candidates maybe, or what is their background? Okay. Okay. So, gotcha. So who qualifies for this program so they can obtain this work experience? What type of candidates are you getting? Do they need to have a child? Is it a certain income that they're looking for in order to be in this program? Who qualifies, right?
Yeah, anyone that's on cash assistance and has children, they receive CalWorks monies. They are required to participate in the Welfare to Work program. So as long as they're receiving cash aid and not exempt, they have a job specialist. Usually you can ask, do you have a job specialist? If someone discloses they're on aid, did you have a job specialist? That's a good hint that they are in the Welfare to Work and they are required to be in our program. So work experience is just one of the different activities they could go. Sometimes they'll go to school. Sometimes they're in vocational training. Well, they have job search. So there's different things they can do. Work experience is usually we try and pull them into work experience once they've finished some type of vocational training. But we have a variety of levels that come through to us. Sometimes we get people that have very little experience. Sometimes we have people that have, just finished their AA degree, or
Right.
So it just varies.
The thing I would say is that the DSF labor pool is so diverse. During the 80-20 days, we were marketing it as well to employers, and it was the kind of thing that an employer owed it to themselves to at least look into the pool, because, you know, we had people with bachelor's degrees, you know, there's some people with masters. I mean, you know, obviously the whole pool isn't, you know, doesn't consist of that, but there are very skilled individuals in that pool. So, and it's, again, free.
Yeah.
So it's just a good thing to, yeah.
And I mean, yeah, and you're not required to hire work experience participants. It's more of a kind of on-the-job training for them as well, because they get to add stuff to their resume and they can use you as a reference in the future. And if they do a good job, you would consider hiring them if you're in the position to hire.
So I think what we could do is, if there's any other questions, they'll stick around afterwards, and we'll kind of keep going with the presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody's getting applause. Awesome. I know we're jumping from presentation to presentation. That's CSS, and again, I just want to highlight, you know, we love making websites over at EC, boy oh boy. We made a website called readytohire.org. It's currently being revamped, and we've got a version 2.0 coming soon. And basically, it's a site that the job seeker pool that make an employer eligible for incentives, they're putting their resumes into, and employers are going to be able to put in their job orders. So in addition to having staff at CSS that will help, the website itself will also kind of help to facilitate matches for jobs. Fresno Energy Watch, again, this is our PG&E program. Markets energy-saving measures to businesses and local governments. Educate government officials about available training and energy efficiency programs. Many of the cities of the RCDI grants have already worked with PG&E reps, your ES&S, you know, team, basically, to have these energy efficiency improvements made. We're here to kind of help make sure that when new ones come out, that we're getting that information to our municipal partners and also our small and medium businesses. We've been coordinating with the Fresno County Library System. Not only do we want to market just what's out there for small and medium businesses, but there's a lot of programs for low-income residents and our people within the community of Fresno County. So we've used the library system to help push that information out. And then, of course, we partner with the Home Energy Tune-Up program that the City of Fresno actually administers, Joseph Oldham. We help make sure that, people are participating in that process of becoming more efficient. FresnoEnergyWatch.com is our website. I told you we like websites. So FresnoEnergyWatch.com, we offer some really cool features. Where do I begin is basically a self-assessment survey. When we do door-to-door, sometimes we realize businesses don't necessarily want someone kind of poking and prodding in their business, kind of looking at their lights, and maybe there's a trust factor that they have to, get over. So we gave them a self-assessment. So the where do I begin is the self-assessment they can do. Energy assessment, we actually partnered with PG&E so that if a business wants to get a free energy efficiency assessment, we've partnered with other agencies that we've created business coupons. So literally, if a business goes to Fresno Energy Watch, signs up for an assessment, they can also get a 30-minute consultation from a law firm that we're partnering with. We've got a marketing agency that will do a kind of brand assessment, a marketing plan consultation. What else do we have? We have obviously our partners with TRAC and the loan preparedness. But basically, we're incentivizing a no-cost assessment. So we're trying to throw everything down there. Something else that we've done is we've developed in partnership with ANA and CDFI something called the Power Loan, and that is an energy efficiency microloan. But I will let Anna talk about that more, and also the services of CDFI. Oh, is Anna there?
And while they do that, just a quick comment. All these programs that we're talking about are programs that the Air Action Network will facilitate and connect our businesses. So it's important for you to be aware of the programs that you don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs. Contact your Air Action Network, and they'll make sure they work with your businesses and connect them to these different resources. Anna?
Thank you. Thank you, Devin. Thank you to the EDC for inviting Fresno CDFI to today's meeting. And
I was debating whether to use my heels, so I just have to stores. Fresno City CDFI is an affordable financing training agency for disadvantaged entrepreneurs and job creators. But I am specifically here to talk about some exciting news, and this is made possible by the EDC primarily, which is the launch of a new pilot program called the Energy Retrofit Power Loan Program, which has been made possible by RCDI and the EDC, and also Richard Keith and Associates, which is the subcontractor of PG&E. And I will talk about the specifics. It's primarily for businesses in Fresno County. The loan amount goes up to $4,999, and the reason for that specific amount is that PG&E offers an on-bill financing program whose minimum is $5,000 up to $100,000. And when Devin and Kevin Smith first approached Fresno CDFI, he specifically talked about the need in the rural communities for these small businesses who do not qualify for the on-bill financing because these are smaller projects who normally cost less than $5,000, which is one of the reasons Fresno CDFI, we thought that it was a great opportunity as we have experience in giving out smaller loan programs than what usually banks do. So the interest rate is 0% actually, and that is also made by the EDC because of the administration expenses that have been covered by their agency, and there is no credit check. And the reason behind that is we're trying to motivate these smaller businesses to take advantage of these energy savings programs, and so we wanted them to not be disencouraged to go through a long process or feel that because it's a loan they have to go through many processes, I would say. It requires a very, very simple loan application. It's actually only 2 pages long, and also the energy fitness report that's generated by Richard Keith and Associates. We do require that the business be in that specific location for at least a year, and no shut-off notices or late payments in the last 12 months. Some of the qualified measures are lighting, windows, insulation, HVAC replacement, and others as approved by RHA. One of the main things and the reason why we don't require the credit check in other documents as your usual loan is we do require ACH payments, automatic payments made directly through drawn from the business account. So that is the main reason why we made this program very flexible. I also wanted to talk to you about our dedication to serving rural communities. I am specifically working with one business out in San Joaquin and one business here, a family in Mendota. And so we are very dedicated to marketing our loan programs in this area. Fresno CDFI began in 1994 primarily doing small loans for small farmers, and that's how we have brought it to our other existing loans. Since 2012, we've done $1.2 million across 37 loans, and we're trying to increase that. And I will say that we are very open, going back to what Esther Clara said, we are very open to traveling to the communities. We understand, the distance. We want to motivate businesses to give us a call and say, can we meet at City Hall? Can we meet at a certain location in that community? So we're willing to do that. I'm willing to travel as well as other staff to those communities. We have 2 loan funds that help us fund some of these small businesses, which is through our USDA Rural RMAT program, which goes up to $50,000. The population has to be within 50,000. And we also have the USDA IRA program. intermediary relending program, which goes up to $250,000, but specifically has to be among the 25,000 population. That's some of our other loan programs that I would be very brief on is our nano loan, which is $1,000 to $10,000. Our microloan program, which basically most of our funding comes from the SBA 7A loans. That's from $10,000 to $50,000, and our enterprise loans, which go up to $250,000. Some of the uses, qualified uses for the loan proceeds are working capital, equipment, tenant improvements, business acquisitions, and others, depending on the sources of funds that we have available. And then we do serve other counties, actually all Valley counties in the Central California, but our presence has primarily been in Fresno County. Our interest rates are anything 7.25 to 9.25%, and we do go up to 10 years, and that's depending on the type of loan, whether it's real estate, working capital, or equipment. And with that, to see if there's any questions. I just really wanted to emphasize on the energy retrofit power loan program. Basically the energy fitness report will show how the proposed measures for the business. It shows the kilowatt usage before and after the new measures, and it shows how much money the business will save yearly and the return on investment. So we really want to encourage these small businesses to take advantage of this program, especially because we've made it so we've simplified it, and we're not going through any hoops or any credit tests. So we want to market this program as much as possible to make it successful and replicate it through other counties, and even statewide, right? I believe, Devin, that's the goal?
That would be PG&E's goal. Obviously, EDC in Fresno County, we're going to make sure we use it as much as possible in Fresno County. But yes, they want to regionalize this.
So with that, if there's any questions. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay. So as we switch back to my PowerPoint, in an effort to make sure we have enough time for questions afterwards and get everybody out of here on time, the rest of my presentation is really going back to slides and information that Wayne Shell went over in the first presentation to this group. He identified a lot of best practices or kind of things, that we can do, and I really want to make sure everyone understands that a lot of those things Wayne talked about is stuff that we do and can literally do for our city. So I'll kind of throw that out there, and I'll continue. So high-speed rail, one other thing. Obviously, with the alignment and everything going on with high-speed rail, we're making sure that our small businesses get their opportunities to cash in on this huge infrastructure project. So we've been working with all the appropriate entities, again, as I mentioned before, to get them certified so they can be a part of that 30% small business goal. So some of you might recognize these slides from Wayne's presentation. But motives, both business and government, again, have profit, okay, as the motive. Businesses' role, they mobilize human, financial, and other resources to create marketable goods or services. Whereas government role is trying to influence the business investment and location decisions with taxes, investment, and incentives, marketing yourself to the business, to the potential business, and quality service. These are things that we do on a day-to-day basis. The quality service, the marketing. Again, when I think of economic development corporations, some of them do lending, some of them do kind of planning and kind of ideas, but really we do ideas that we implement. We're on the ground implementers to provide service to both businesses in Fresno County and ones that are looking at the area. Typical activities for existing businesses, backward linkages. A lot of times we'll meet with the business. They'll say, you know what I really need is someone who can help me to expand into Fowler. I'm looking for someone to partner with. And then later on, we meet business in Fowler who sees the appropriate partner. What we make sure is we make those linkages, we make those connections. There's other things, but business visitations. We've got a crew right now. They're going out and marketing our Department of Social Services wage reimbursements, the Energy Watch program, Enterprise Zone, the Use It or Lose It campaign to make sure businesses are taking advantage of that before it's too late. And then we ourselves go out and visit businesses, your business community, to make sure that they're aware of all the people that are trying to help them succeed. Revolving loans, through our partners such as CDFI, Central, Valley Small Business, we make sure to market those lending products. Export assistance, Glenn Roberts with the Department of Commerce, we work very closely to make sure that we're allowing our business community that would thrive and be able to expand through export opportunities. We connect them with that. Esther, I'm sure we'll tell you later, she has been working with a lot of international entities to help connect our local food industries with exporting opportunities. There was a very successful Hong Kong delegation that before the Hong Kong buyers left the valley, they were already making deals with the businesses that we connected them with. Government purchasing, again, through the certification processes, we want to make sure that businesses that are able to are looking at government purchasing opportunities to increase their revenues. Oh yeah, and Veronica is our in-house expert on small business certifications. So if anybody has anyone that they would like to refer, again, just let us. Typical activities for startups, incubators. We work very closely with the Central Valley Business Incubator. Also, they have the Water and Energy Technology Incubator. We work very closely with them. Business training, SBDC, Rich's Group, SCORE, SBA, you name it. We make sure to connect the dots. Other partners, workforce agencies like the WIB, Welfare to Work, who you just heard from, DSS, community colleges, CMTC, which is our California Manufacturing Technology Center. We work very closely with them as well. Tools, again, enterprise zones, we administer the counties. We're going to, again, through our Use It or Lose It campaign, make sure that any business that can take advantage of it, that they're at least informed of the opportunity and take advantage of that. Recycling zones, the RMDZ, we work very closely with Leslie Klein to make sure that businesses that are eligible for a recycling zone a loan, that they are getting that information. And tax incentives, again, enterprise zone, work opportunity tax credits, historically underutilized business zones, things of that nature, we make sure to inform our business. So trends in ED, again, this is another slide from Wayne's presentation. Retention and attraction. So the ability to retain our employer community, our current employers, show that we can keep our local business community thriving. That is, again, a tool for attraction purposes. Community developers, it's not just about looking at direct service to the business. It's also about what can we do in a community to best improve the quality of life. So working with DSS to make sure that if an employer is looking to hire someone, that maybe they're looking at someone who is in most need of a job, what that can kind of do, what that the dual impact is of helping that business to hire, but also hire someone who most needs the job. And again, kind of that's the merging of workforce and economic development. Global investing and networking, again, kind of the example I mentioned of Esther and the Hong Kong delegation, bridging, our global partners with local businesses. Bottom line, again, this is another slide from Wayne's presentation. I hope he doesn't make me pay him for all this. But bottom line is customer service. At the end of the day, that's what we do. We're, again, boots on the ground. We provide that level of customer service to your businesses. And sometimes we're just another acronym to a business. ED, COC, EDD, they don't know the difference. But we're here to help. If you ever have a business that has questions, just let us know. I think that's it. Oh, next up, we're going to be back to talk more about like executive pulse and other ways. And I know at the end there's really the meeting in which we're going to talk about strategizing kind of how best to utilize Economic Development Corporation. But in the meantime, you know, if you want to discuss processes for marketing any of these tools or helping us get in front of your business community, just let me know. Identify businesses through that process in need of a comp analysis. If there's businesses that maybe we should talk to, just let us know. And we have our Step 2 tax credit trainings that are still going on every first and third Thursday of any month. We're still doing these free trainings to your businesses or yourselves if you want to attend to go over some of these programs in greater detail. And then all the websites that we love to build, obviously. You can check those out. And that's it. So how do I do? Good.
Thank you, Devin. You know, I just want to mention that, you know, my job is on the business attraction, but I think one of our strongest tools is having a strong business retention program. And as you can see, there's a lot of programs out there, and it's very difficult for all of us to remember all of that. That's what we do at the EDC, is we gather these different incentives and we understand them. We know enough to say this business can benefit from these tax credits, from these incentives. So having a group like Devin's group out there knocking on doors, talking to these businesses, assisting them to retain, helps us, because when I have businesses that want to come here, I'll give you a good example. I have a manufacturing company that is looking at the area, and the first thing they told me is, I want to meet with your local businesses. I want to meet with like businesses because I want to talk to them about how is it to do business here in Fresno County. So for me, it's important. I go right away to Devin and said, Devin, I need you to, you know, connect me to some of the businesses that, you know, you've been working with, that are doing great here in the community, that, you know, believe in our county, that I can put them in contact and have them say nothing but good things about Fresno County. So, you know, he's been excellent on actually doing that and helping me out in that area. And I have to tell you, not a lot of counties have a business retention expansion group. So we're very lucky here in Fresno County. So I encourage you that as you're talking to some of your businesses, please, you know, connect them to Devin. Devin will connect them to all these different resources. They do an actual assessment to find out what other tools does this business need. So again, it's really critical that we connect our local businesses. So with that, I want to open it for questions. I think we are still on time. Yep, we're doing good time, so we have about 10 minutes for questions or so. If anybody has a question or would like to share anything, now's the time. You got it?
Sure. You have a question, Orange Grove?
Your workforce training, how extensive is that? Because we have a company in Sanger, it's called International Paper, and they've already notified us that if we don't have the workforce in place, 10 years they're going to relocate back to Colorado where they have the workforce. And I'm just wondering, because we've met with Reedley College, we've met with the employer, and we were just wondering if EDC would partner also with the city of Sanger to get all those partnerships together so that we can train an existing company instead of having to go out and look for other businesses, which we could do through other avenues. But we would like to retain this current business, and we need all those kinds of partnerships to just keep it going in the fact that it's there in Sanger.
Well, I'll let
Tell me what you need and the time frame you need them. We could probably work something out.
Okay, what we're going to have to do as a city is ask International Paper, what kind of employees do you need? Right. Whether it's technicians, whether it's electricians, forklift drivers, or whatever. And you guys can work to some kind of a program to facilitate that?
We have a pool of roughly...
I'm sorry, hold on, Ralph. Can everyone hear Ralph?
No, can he get closer to the speaker?
Here? Yeah, hold on one second. He's going to move next to the mic.
The mic, thank you.
You're Mr. Pacheco, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The county is working aggressively to address those needs. So if you'll tell me what this company is looking for as far as skill sets. Even if you mentioned forklift, we can certify those clients that we have in our pool if that's what's needed. We have an arrangement with Gray Lip, so we can certify people. We have a warehouse program. We have a number of different trainings already in place. But if you'll tell me what's needed, the skill sets that are needed, I can pose that to our management, and they are aggressively now looking to address those needs specifically. So
We have another company, but I'll talk to you later about that.
okay, sure.
Thank you, Ron.
You bet.
Cruz, I think you had a comment. Can we hear that comment again?
Cruz just mentioned that the labor force out here in this area would be more than willing to drive out to whether it's Sanger or other communities to work as well. So the opportunity for our labor force here and the West Side, what's the opportunity with these types of trainings? I'm assuming that DSS also has a talent pool out in the West Side that they would be offering trainings like this for, right?
Yeah, DSS's labor pool is all over the county.
Yeah.
So, they're all over in every city. It's a countywide thing.
Cruz is from what city?
San Joaquin.
San Joaquin. That's going to come out of the Kerman office or
What Ralph is saying is you would want to talk to the Kerman office, but just send me an email, Cruz, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I think that from the West Side, just want to make sure that the opportunities of employment are given out to our residents.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that the trainings that will be offered will cover for anyone that is willing and able to work that is from that talent pool. So, absolutely. And I think DSS, that's what they do. As they have a job order that comes in, they look at their full talent pool and look at all of their job seekers and see who's able to meet the requirements that business needs. So they would offer that opportunity for them as well.
I think Rich had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I think the right approach is to work with Ralph and his awesome staff and as a starting point, but keep in mind for either potential employees who may not have the right program in place already, like with Gray Lip, or for existing employees with International Paper, the California Employment Training Panel offers grants for you to design custom training programs for existing staff as well. They are actually hitting the streets right now as we speak because there's not a lot of folks using them.
Well, good.
The California Employment Training Panel, ETP, another acronym you'll probably forget.
One thing I do want to add, though, Rich, is that what Ralph is talking about is it's almost sounding like it could be a localized ETP.
Right. Like I said, it's very important. Is a grant from the state of California ever easy? That's rhetorical. But it's important to work with Ralph and Veronica up front, especially for initial training needs, because they'll be faster, easier to work with, immediate return on investment. But if you have to supplement it because it's outside of what they can do, I'd look into working with Devin, and Devin can pull me in on it too, and we can help you design an ETP grant program.
Other questions?
There's one more question here in the room. Okay. Dr. Sablon has a question. She said that she's had a few people from the CalWorks program work for your clinic, or work in the people that she knows that have worked from the CalWorks program, and the issue has been the transportation or lack of transportation. What are some of the services that CalWorks is doing to address that issue?
Okay, Ralph's en route. Hold on a second.
But I'm not real happy. You're correct. Transportation is a constant challenge for our clients, and especially in the rural areas. We used to have rural transit. I believe there is a very limited service out in the rural areas, but I wish I had a better answer for you. But we do offer, I believe,
we offer mileage reimbursement. So if they have a vehicle that they can drive, say if they live out in the rural area and they're driving to Fresno, we do pay them mileage to get back and forth, or so that's available to our CalWorks participants that are doing any type of activity. So if they're traveling from Orange Cove to Reedley to go to school for this program or something we set up, we will pay them mileage back and forth if they have access to a vehicle. The problem is if they don't, that's where we don't have the transportation services to get them back and forth. I know that's been a continuing issue for us, and with what we're doing now with the county, maybe that's something we can address with our redesign program we're working on.
Chris had a quick question. Do you provide van pools or anything like that?
Not right now. There are options being looked at. We know it's an issue, but I don't have a solution yet.
But
Okay. It sounds like there's some van pools already in existence out here in the west side, and maybe connecting you guys. West Side Transit, maybe. Okay, so the team out here is talking about the West Side Transit, and maybe DSS connecting with them to be able to provide that, extend that service to CalWorks. So.
there's still is that through EOC?
The camp. And then there's also through the Council of COG, there is a van pool program that's funded through Measure C. So that's another one that maybe you guys can look into. And then the West Side Transit is through EOC, through the COG.
Oh, okay.
We do have an arrangement with EOC. Okay.
Okay. And I'll be getting the information, and we can send it over to Ralph.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Stantec? Mark's still in the room.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for their time, and we have some opportunity here to network a little bit. But again, I really appreciate your time. We definitely want to get everybody out on time. But once again, don't worry, we're not going to test you on everything that we talked about today. But the idea is that you remember that you have a business retention expansion team that will connect your businesses to all these resources. So Stantec, thank you for sponsoring, and thank you for being here today. I want to thank our other speakers. Anna, thank you for being here. Our DSS team out there. Rich, thank you as well for being for being in attendance, and a great presentation, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.